All right. So I did a live yesterday where I spoke about the salary increase of the political directorate of Jamaica, and I also spoke about the acceleration that the Prime Minister spoke about of advancing Jamaica towards a digital society. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to save the live because my phone battery died. Generally, when you go live on Instagram, it overheats your system. And so the battery died, and then by the time I could get back on, for some reason or others, it did not save the live, which is quite unfortunate. So I'm kind of going back over the information right now, and then I will save this and re-upload it for everyone to see. For the most part, I will try my best to conduct the session in English so that anyone who is not from Jamaica may still be able to follow and understand what I'm saying, because I will try my best to confine myself to English as opposed to devolving into the dialect. Now, what you see on the screen that I'm sharing right now is the breakdown of the salary compensation packaging for the political directorate. And this is just a snapshot of a few of the key positions that received this restructuring of their compensation package. The Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark, gave two primary reasons as to why this restructuring was necessary. And the first one that he gave was that, they're trying to attract the best and the brightest minds to participate in the governance of Jamaica. And with the current salary compensation package that we have, it is not attractive enough to capture those bright minds to come in and participate in our governance. And the other reason he said that the restructuring was, he looked within Jamaica and he looked to, what was essentially CEOs, what were the CEOs in Jamaica getting, people of the same level in terms of the responsibilities that they have. What were their compensation? And that is how they now realigned the compensation package of the political directorate to match those that are in the private sector, such that they could, um, what am I saying now? They could attract our best and brightest to come and participate in the politics of the country. The prime minister at first defended the repackaging because people need to understand that it's not a salary increase. A salary increase is something that happens, I think every calendar year or every fiscal year, depending on which sector you're in. I think in the case of Jamaica, I think it would either be fiscal or tax year, which would start on the 1st of April, if I am not mistaken. And the increase would generally take place somewhere between 5 to 10%. What I've seen over the years is that they usually get about 11% on average, thereabouts, in their compensation package. And some prime ministers have even as gone so far as to accept a reduction voluntarily, asked that their salary be reduced. I think this was Bruce Golding who did it. I'm not 100% sure. Right? So a salary increase with something that generally happens yearly, and it goes anywhere from 5 to 10%. But the restructuring now is what happened, and that is how they were able to justify the significant increases in the salaries of the political directorate. So we're going to take a look at the increase. So all these figures that you see on the screen here, all of these figures, these are in Jamaican dollars, right? So where it is not Jamaican dollars, I will let you know that it's not Jamaican dollars. The GDP in this line here, these are US dollars, not Jamaican dollars. So I will sort of kind of do a comparative analysis of the compensation package, looking at what it is versus what it should have been versus what is happening in the wider Caribbean. And we'll also look at the top CEOs in Jamaica, the US, and UK, and what their salaries are in comparison to what their prime ministers or presidents are getting. So, for the most part, the outrage seems to focus on the prime minister's compensation package, which is not the highest. The highest increase is the minister of finance, who has received a 229% increase in his compensation package, followed by the deputy prime minister, followed by the members of parliament, and then the prime minister. But obviously, people are going to say the prime minister when talking, just like how we use, the masculine pronoun when we are referring to everyone. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. We just use the prime minister because the prime minister is the leader of the country. But what we are in fact upset with is the overall increases that all of these people have received. But we can't, in our conversation, say, oh, the deputy prime minister, the minister of finance, the minister of state, the cabinet minister, because that is just going to make the conversation take a whole lot longer and make the argument a little bit more convoluted and harder for people to understand. So we can just focus on the leader of the country, who is the prime minister, and that is why most people focus on the prime minister and say, oh, whatever. But we're really talking about the entire restructuring of the compensation packages. So when we look, so they're coming from $9.1 million for the prime minister's salary in 2021, which, by the way, is an increase because I think before that it was $7.2 million. So if you look down here where I have between 2016 and 2019, it was $8 million. So they have been receiving, increases over the period of time. But if you notice, it basically was about 11% increase on average. So between 2016 and 2019, the salary remained the same. It was $8 million, but it was an 11% increase from 2012 up to 2016, and they took a pay cut in the period 2012 to 2016. But so essentially, we're looking at what is reasonable in terms of maybe 11% increase on a year-over-year basis, or on average 90,000, about $100,000 on their salaries, on the prime minister's salary specifically each year. So in 2021, the prime minister's salary was $9.1 million. And Nigel Clark decided to restructure this thing and increase it from $9.1 million to $22 million. That does not make sense. That is how much percent increase? 243% increase. WAP. A 243% increase from $9 million to $22 million in 2022. And there is no justification for that, because we were coming out of a depression. Jamaica's GDP significantly declined from, I think, $5,050 US to $4,080 US per capita. So how can you, coming out of a depression, give the political directorate essentially a 243% increase to the prime minister, 249% increase to the deputy prime minister, 257% increase to the minister of finance, and 225% increase to the minister of state. And as you may notice, the minister of finance is the one that has received the largest increase. So clearly, he has a conflict of interest in defending these exorbitant increases. So the overall increase, right, for the prime minister is $19 million over the 3 years. And how can you move from $9 million, right, to $28 million in a space of 3 years in terms of increasing your compensation package when the GDP has declined from 2021? I don't know what it was in 2022, right? Because they did. I can't find that figure anywhere. But in 2021, when the prime minister's salary was at $9.1 million, the GDP was $5,184 US. And in 2023, when the prime minister's salary has increased to $25 million, or let's see what the percentage is, 275%, right? The GDP fell by a percentage point, if I'm not mistaken. I probably got that wrong. That divided by, okay, I should do, let me try and find what the percentage is. Oh my God, sorry. Let me try and find what the percentage is. Let me see if I'm getting that right. Come on. Percent. That's not right. So it should be minus. No. That's minus that and then divide. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Okay, so I was correct. It fell by 1%, but you are increasing the prime minister's salary by 275%. That does not make any sense, and you are justifying. Now, when we look at what the Bahamas is getting in terms of their prime minister, we're not going to look at the others because we don't want to drag the video out, and what the prime minister of Trinidad is getting, and then look at their GDPs in compared to Jamaica. The prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago is getting $13 million. And this is in 2023, right? And our prime minister is getting $25 million. The prime minister of the Bahamas is getting also $13 million, while our prime minister is getting $25 million. But when you look at the GDP of Trinidad and Tobago and the Bahamas, you realize that they are 3 to 5 times higher than that of Jamaica, yet our prime minister is getting almost double what these two prime ministers are getting respectively. The prime minister's salary could pay both the Trinidad prime minister and the Bahamian prime minister. How does that make any sense? While their GDPs are 3 and 5 times higher than Jamaica's GDP, and the Minister of Finance is coming out here to justify these increases, saying that, okay, we looked within Jamaica, we didn't really look outside of Jamaica to do the restructuring because we wanted to attract talent. Now, what is the talent they're talking about? So they basically said, all right, then we look within Jamaica. So these figures here are estimated because we don't know, Jamaica is when it comes to salary. Nobody knows what anybody else is getting. So that is how they keep us in slavery and pay everybody little and nothing, because no one knows what any job value. We don't know what the CEO of Seprad is getting. We don't know what the CEO of Sagicor is getting. So that if we are going to be hired as a CEO, we can do a comparative analysis. And when we go into the HR interview, we can properly negotiate our salary and our compensation package. What they generally do is they ask you how much you were getting paid from where you're coming from. And then they use that as a benchmark to pay you a little bit above what you were getting, when the job that you had before may be valued less than the job that you are now getting. And so when they may be able to, let's say the job that you're getting is that you're interviewing for, let's say it values $25 million, and you were working a job that was paying you $10 million. They'll say, okay, fine, we'll pay you $12 million when the job value is $25 million. But because you're coming from 10, you see it as an upgrade because you're getting 12, when it is nowhere near what you're supposed to be getting. And that is how they have managed to continue slavery in Jamaica, by having us working for a little, for pennies on the dollar, and working hard while struggling to pay our bills. Now, the separate CEO, now what I did was, if you see these numbers, 11, 6, 8, 13, and 13. So these are the number of top executives, including the CEO, that these companies have, according to the research that I did. And they paid out, so they don't have the salary of the executive, but they say this is what the total salary, this is how much they paid to the top executives. Because when they do their these companies are listed on the stock exchange, so they won't tell you how much the CEO is getting, but they'll tell you how much they paid to the top executives. So that's what I did, and use that now to kind of give a rough idea of what this. I just divide it by whatever they paid out. I divide it by the number of top executives and say, okay, this is what they, on average, the CEO would be getting. So the CEO of Seprad would be getting on average $25 million. I'm sure it's probably more. For Sagicor, this is saying $76 million. For Grace Kennedy, this is saying $35 million. For JMB, $25 million. For Mayberry Investment is saying $15 million, right? So essentially, they're saying, okay, when we look at what these people are getting, while our Prime Minister is getting $9 million, it doesn't seem fair. And that is why we did the restructuring agreement. And if you notice, it is in line with, the $25 million seem to be in line with what these top CEOs are getting. So at least we know that this is not too far-fetched in terms of the calculations that I've made here for the CEOs in Jamaica. But I'll do you one better, and I go further now. And I said, okay, let's look at two of the biggest economies in the world, the United States of America and the UK, right? And I look at their top companies and what those CEOs are getting. So their figures for the US are in United States dollars, and the figures for the UK are in pound sterling. So Apple, right, is one of the largest companies in the US, and the Apple CEO gets $3 million a year. Facebook is also one of the top companies in the US, and the Facebook CEO gets $2 million a year. BlackRock is one of the largest companies in the world, as a matter of fact, and the BlackRock CEO gets $25 million. Walmart is another one, and the Walmart CEO gets $22.5 million, right? But the president of the United States of America gets $400,000 a year. And so what I did, I said, okay, let me look at this lowest paid CEO in terms of top performing companies and see how the president's compensation compares to that. So the president of the United States, his salary is 20% of the lowest paid CEO in the United States of America, which this would be Facebook, right? So let us jump to the UK now. We have Unilever, the CEO gets 10.3 million pounds. We have AstraZeneca, the CEO gets 15.4 million pounds. We have BP, the CEO gets 1.5 million pounds. We have GlaxoSmithKline, the CEO gets 8.3 million pounds. And the Prime Minister of the UK, I think this is for 2021, I don't know what he's getting now, gets 157,000 pounds. And that is 10% of the lowest paid CEO in the top performing companies in the United Kingdom. But when we looked at Jamaica, right, the lowest paid top company CEO is getting $15 million, right? And our Prime Minister's salary is 61%. And I'm talking about the $9 million, not the $25 million, because obviously if it was the $25 million, it would be 100% more than. So I'm going off this $9 million here to see if the increase of 211% was justified. It's 61%. So I mean, even when you're doing this comparative analysis, you realize that our prime minister still was getting, in terms of in comparison to what the members in the private sector, his counterparts in the private sector are getting, is still doing far better than the president of the United States of America and the prime minister of the United Kingdom. So how can Nigel Clark come out and justify to the Jamaican people that these exorbitant increases by way of a restructuring arrangement are justified? They are not. And obviously, you know, if you look at the GDP of these respective countries, they are 10 times larger than that of Jamaica. So there is absolutely no justification when we have a fall in GDP, right, at least from 2022 to 2023, at least from 2020, between 2021. I don't have anything for 2022 for some reason, right? We see where it fell by 1%, and you are justifying giving your political friends, this is an increase. This is a slap in the face of the Jamaican people, and it is a blatant disregard, because they knew, they ought to have known, that the Jamaican people would have rebelled against these increases. So when we look at what the increase should have been, if we're going by the 11% increase, right? The prime minister, so you would have increased it by to $10.2 million in 2022. Then you would have increased it to $11.3 million in 2023. Then you would have increased it to $12.5 million in 2024. But instead, you did this exorbitant increase and you gave the prime minister 473% more than he should have gotten. Because what falls within the realm of reasonableness would be an 11% increase, as we have seen over the years, at least between the period 2016 to 2019. And we are coming out of a recession where, you know, the GDP fell significantly in 2020, and we are just getting back on track. And I don't even know if it's just, you know, they're just shifting around the figures and the book to make it seem as if, because I don't know that Jamaica is producing more. So I don't know how they are able to show that we have this significant growth, moving from 4,800 US dollars per GDP per capita to 5,109. I don't know how they are doing that, because I don't think that we are producing, because the GDP is representative of factors of production, including the purchasing power of the Jamaican people. So if we are not producing more, how are we growing? And that is why we have to be very careful when we are talking about raising minimum wage, because if the GDP is not increasing, meaning if we are not producing more, we cannot increase the minimum wage, because what you're going to have in effect is that you're going to cause inflation, because there's a positive correlation between demand and supply. And if you give people more money, it simply means that it's going to cause an increase in demand. But if the price of, if the volume of goods and services remain the same while demand increases, it simply means that supply is going to increase. The cost of the prices of the goods and services that are available are going to increase, because you have more dog than bone, in a manner of speaking. So that is why you can't just arbitrarily say, okay, well, the government get increased, you need to increase minimum wage, you need to do this, you need to do that. What we need to do, if we want the minimum wage to be raised, if we want people to be better paid, we have to increase production. We have to increase the output. And that is what a lot of people don't understand, and it's basic economics. But, you know, we have all these bright people who claim that them guy University of the West Indies, UTEC and NCU, and instead of educating the people on what is in their own best interest, they are pushing narratives that they are paid to push, because at the end of the day, the agenda is the destabilization of Jamaica, the rape and pillage of the financial resources of the country, and the unjust enrichment of the political elite who are agents of destruction, who have had a chokehold on the Jamaican economy and the Jamaican people for over 4 decades or more. And it is time that we all wise up, wake up, and recognize what is happening to our country and why these people are doing what they are doing. And so, this is, I just wanted to come and kind of like do this analysis of the data and the information that they have presented to us. I hear DVJ said it was 1.7 million increase. I don't know how they get it, but I look at the total increase, right, which is 700,000. So I add up all these people and the increases that they got, right? And then I look at what the salaries would be for 2024, right? So all these increases would come to a little over $1 billion. And then I would have to take away now, right, because the increase from 2023 to 2024, because it would have been included in this. And that is how I got the $1.69 billion. So I don't know if you add the increase plus the salary for 2024, then you get 1.8, which is, I thought I saw another guy, but then it wouldn't be correct because the increase from 2023 to 2024 is included in the total increase, so you'd have to take it out. So that is, I don't know, maybe my math is wrong. I'm not a math person. I failed CXC math, but that is just my logic. So I just wanted people to understand how I got, the overall cost to the taxpayers. But whether it's 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, it still don't make a difference. The fact of the matter is they must roll back this restructuring agreement. And we are not saying that the Prime Minister does not deserve an increase, or these they shouldn't get their increase in their salaries, but you cannot have 200 and odd percent increase across the board for these people who are not doing anything. And then at the end of the day, they are saying, well, the Prime Minister essentially said you get what you pay for. So what the Prime Minister has effectively confessed to us, if you are not aware, is that one, is incompetent, or two, is derelict, or both. Because he's saying, you're paying me $9 million to take on this tumultuous task, and one, me sit down, fold my hand, not doing anything because you're not paying me enough to do it. Or two, I am incompetent, and the reason why I am here is because of the little bit of money we will not pay, because the brighter people who are out there who can manage to run the country not gonna come and work for $9 million. So which is it? Either you are purposefully sabotaging the business of the Jamaican people through a dereliction of duty, or you are incompetent, or both. But you cannot say that you are competent and you have been carrying on the business of the people in the best interest of the people and make the statement that, okay, well, you get what you pay for. So you're getting, if you have a shitty government, it's because you're paying me $9 million a year. So you're saying you're purposefully sabotaging the country, or you're incompetent. And whatever the answer is to that question, it simply means that you need to go. Because one, you're in it for money, not to advance the welfare of the Jamaican people. And since you have confessed that you are in it for money and you're not there to advance the welfare of the Jamaican people, then you must go. And that is what I am trying to bring to the Jamaican people and alert them that these people who are in politics are not there for us. They are not advancing our interest. They are not interested in seeing that each and every Jamaican flourish. The only thing that they are interested in is their own advancement, enriching themselves at the expense of the Jamaican people. And it is about time we wake up and recognize that they are against us. I want to switch gears a little and move now into this what you call it, acceleration of Jamaica towards a digital economy. And that is where central bank digital currency comes into play. So you will see where I have written a book, everything you need to know about central bank digital currency, that is available on Amazon. And in this book I talk about central bank digital currency. I go into the history of money. So it's not just, I didn't just start with central bank. I go into the history of money, the current monetary system that we have. I explain central bank digital currency. I look at CBDCs versus cryptocurrency. Then I look at the darker side of CBDC. And obviously, we have to now talk about the Great Reset, because CBDC is a precursor to the Great Reset. And then we talk about what the agenda of the Great Reset is, because they're talking about stakeholder capitalism and sustainable development and climate resilience and all of these things under this Great Reset banner. Make it sound like, okay, we all need to sing Kumbaya, hold hands, right, for the betterment of the country. But they are not interested in the betterment of the country. They are interested in enriching themselves, being lords over us, while we beg for the scraps. So this is an important book for anyone who wants to understand what is taking place, why we are seeing the kinds of movement in our society. When we talk about movement, we're talking about the series of frauds that have been plaguing the financial system. All of a sudden, everybody is a thief. How many people robbing NCB? How many big wigs robbing over at Sagicor and all these places that we have, vested our trust in and have invested our money in. All of a sudden, they seem to be, the people who are working there seem to be SSL, the whole SSL saga, which I firmly believe is a false flag event that was designed to as a distraction, one, and to foment mistrust in the financial system, so that they can either, one, trigger a run on the banks or on the financial institutions and create a financial collapse, so that they can come in now and be the saviors. I'm talking about the Hegelian dialectic here, problem, reaction, solution, right? That is what is happening. And the most troubling thing is that the people who have the ears of the Jamaican people are not speaking out. The influencers, the bloggers, the whatever you want to call them. But I am going to illustrate to them. So the Sir P's, I know Sir P is anonymous. But if you do not begin to wake up the Jamaican people and alert them as to what is happening, where this government is trying to bring in a digital economy, not for the betterment of the Jamaican people, because we have a long way to go in terms of modernizing Jamaica. So how are you going to now launch us into a digital economy when we are not even up to par with where present day modern societies are? There are still people without water, light, and internet, running water, light, and internet, don't have proper road facilities, and you're trying now to let us go digital. How does that make any sense? That does not make any sense, but it will make sense once I finish illustrating to you, because they don't care who gets on and who is not able to get on and who gets left behind, because there is an insidious agenda to kill as many Jamaicans as possible by the year 2030. Through whatever means necessary. We know the crime and violence is not killing enough. We're still averaging 1,400 murders per year. That is not enough to dwindle the population by 50% or more in the next 7 years. So that is why they had rolled out these gene therapies under the guise of being, an inoculation program. And then what we're going to have now is an explosion of cancers, an explosion of unexplained diseases, and an explosion of unexplained deaths. And when you check it out, check all these people who are dying in Jamaica from cancers or whatever, and check if they were not jabbed. That is what I want. It is most difficult. We had boom, 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 dynamite or whatever, died the other day, and they say, oh, well, he had an accident back in April and he died from complications. Like, really? Pneumonia from an accident? Myocarditis and blood clots? All of those complications arose as a result of the accident that he had, and he went to the University Hospital of the West Indies or whichever one of them, and they examined him and sent him home as fine, and then he dropped dead literally over a month later, and you are attributing that to the accident that he had. I'm pretty sure he was jabbed. And the pneumonia and the blood clot are recurring themes in these people who are dropping dead. He literally dropped dead, by the way. Took a plane, went to the US, dropped dead at the airport. And they're saying, oh, it's because of complications from the accident that he had. And I don't believe that. But you see, it is very difficult to have these conversations because, well, somebody fully jabbed up and then dropped dead. You can't go to the family and say, okay, were they jabbed? And I think this is it, because they are in a period of mourning, plus them living in cognitive dissonance, plus them when don't inveigle the person to take it anyway. So they are not incentivized to even at least resolve that question to say, okay, we are sure that this was not the cause of death. Moreover, it is very difficult to make a causal link because of how these biological weapons are designed. It's very difficult to get. The most you can do is look at the recurring symptoms of these people who are jabbed and they die under similar circumstances. Heart attack, blood clot, or whatever. Or you just drop dead and it's unexplained. And that is how you can link it. But these medical doctors and coroners, they're not going to do that because nobody's going to risk their license. Nobody's going to risk being a pariah of the scientific or the medical community by declaring that, okay, well, this person died as a result of the jab that they took. They're not going to do that. So, the central bank digital currency, like I said, if you are interested in understanding more, I'm going to revise and add more information to the book because I brought it back, I think, in 2021, and more information has come to light. So I think I'm going to revise and add more information to the book. But for now, it is there. It's just, I think, $16.99. I think they're going to raise the price. Not me. Amazon, they said that the cost of producing the book is going to go up. I don't know by how much. So they're going to increase the cost because to print the book, the printing cost is going to go up. And so the price of the thing is, I assume, is going to go up with that because at the end of the day, they want their cut and the person printing the book want their cut and then I get the balance, which is literally probably less than $1. Anyways, as much as it's $16, right now is, I think, $10 something to print the book. So $10 goes to the printer and Amazon takes, I think, 40% of whatever is left as their royalty, and I get the other 60%. And if I want them to promote the book, I can take 40 and they take 60 and use 20% of that to push the book with their algorithms. But whatever. So I don't get much from it. So it's $16. I probably get $1.50 when you buy a book. But it's just to get the information out there so that people can be aware of what is happening. So let us talk about what the government of Jamaica is doing, because for what they learned is that in spite of the propaganda and all the stuff that they were doing during 2020, right, the Jamaican people, a significant majority, did not fall for the propaganda. We only have 600,000 people who actually took the stuff. And the remaining 2.3 million people did not. And there was a lot of push. There was a lot of push. And in all of what they were doing, the Jamaican people did not take it. The Duns people them didn't take it. All the people them that they thought that they could have easily fooled did not take this thing. So they have gone back to the drawing table, and them a wheel and come again with another plan, because now they have to now bring in the digital ID, because the government of Jamaica passed NIDS in, I think, October of 2021, and a lot of people don't know that. Remember, we have been fighting tooth and nail to get NIDS off the table, because, you know, a lot of people are saying it's the mark of the beast and they don't want it, yada, yada, yada. But the government of Jamaica have passed the law. Now, the reason why the government of Jamaica, before I get to that, so the bloggers, so the Serpies and the Pink Walls and the Mautamasses and the Republics of Mobe and the Tef News and all these people who are hiding behind an anonymous account, masking their voices and speaking out, or at least for the most part, entertaining Jamaicans, distracting Jamaicans for a profit. I'm not going to include Sir P in the distraction, because, what him do is still mix up. That's why he has so many followers, even though it is still shining a light into the darkest parts of Jamaica and into the darkest parts of the Jamaican psyche, but it is still mix up. That is why he has such a large following, because Jamaican people have been conditioned to be like mindless automatons who are constantly craving mix-up and entertainment. And it is unfortunate that our destruction is almost upon us, and people are content to be entertained. You cannot be entertaining somebody in the middle of a war. We are in a 5th generation psychological warfare right now, not just in Jamaica, but right across the globe. And for the most part, the Jamaican people are sleeping. The Jamaican people are not awake and in full realization that their doom is imminent. And that is what I have been trying to do. So the people who have the ears of the Jamaican people, you are the ones that I'm speaking to, because you have profited off of the attention of the Jamaican people by distracting them from the things that are important to them, from the things that they should be standing up and speaking out against. Instead, bring mix up and foolishness involving the puppets in the dancehall industry and the reggae industry, who is sleeping with who is doing what, XYZ and the like. And none of these things are germane to the plight of the Jamaican people. They are distractions, but because it make no money, that is all you care about. Clickbait, likes, and views, so that you can capitalize off the YouTube algorithm and make money. And I'm not saying that you're not supposed to make a living, but at the end of the day, when you recognize that the same people who you are making a living off of, their lives, their liberties, their freedoms, and their livelihoods are in danger, you have a moral responsibility. You have a duty, you owe them a duty of care to bring that to their attention, to say, look, this is what is happening, and I need you guys to be aware. So for the anonymous people who making them millions of dollars off of YouTube a month, and the government not seeing a red penny, when Andrew Michael Holness rolls out the digital ID system, because they're waiting on NIDS to fully launch, to tie NIDS to the CBDC, and then you are screwed. So all of who they hide Mautamasi and the wala uno, when nobody know uno be, the government will know who you are. Because what is going to happen is that, one, all these platforms are going to require that you use your digital ID to sign up to their system. So they will give a period of time to say, okay, by XYZ date, you must link your digital ID to your account. Otherwise, you will not be able to access your account. So you have free reign over it right now. Sir P, you anonymous and them will look them will want to find out who you be for kill you. So you have a duty now to say, hey, Jamaica, this is what Andrew Holness is trying to bring in, where there is no privacy for the citizens of Jamaica, and the government can find who they want to find and do what they want to do, because make no mistake, the crime and violence that has been in Jamaica is being perpetrated by the very same people who are coming on the TV and telling you that they're trying to fight crime and violence, and they're declaring zones of special operations, and they're declaring states of emergencies, when they are the same ones who are financing the criminals who are terrorizing the Jamaican people. And because they keep the young men in the ghetto hungry, because they bar them from educational opportunities and employment opportunities, they come now with their arms outstretched, with the guns and the drugs and the blood money, and say, I want you to go over there and kill your fellow man. And because them broke and hungry and they don't see any other way out, they take up arms against their own, not recognizing that they are pawn in a greater game. And when they have served their purpose, the same people who employ them to kill Jamaicans are going to come and shut them up, because at the end of the day, you know, say, okay, then John Brown, the politician, come and pay you $500,000 and give you 500 gun figure murder people or terrorize the Jamaican citizens. So they're gonna come and send them badman police to come kill you too, and plant gun on your cloth and say, oh, you were a wanted criminal. They are coming for each and every one of us. And if we as Jamaicans do not stand together and speak out with a thunderous voice to say that we will not comply, we will not submit, and we are going to take back the country from the jaws of the devil, because the Prime Minister of Jamaica has signed over Jamaica to the agenda of the devil. So I want to talk to all the people who are distracted, who are reticent, who are apathetic to what is happening. So you, Mr. Ankiat man, where you sell soup in the town square or in the market, or you say your little pudding and porridge a morning time pan your little cat. You, lady, where you buy up the little things them cheap, and you come and bend down a Wednesday daytime or whatever the case might be, and peddle your wares in bend down. You who are walk with your little ring with greater cake and drops and peanut cake panny. You who have your little cook shop and some roadside selling whatever. You who get your little cat and you bring food and you go at some either site or wherever, go sell lunch to the people in there. Or maybe you go by the school, the high school or the primary school, and you sell stuff to the children. You who goes to the market and Fridays and Saturdays are during the week, and you sell your banana and your yam and your pumpkin and your whatever. You who consider yourself to be an influencer, and you're peddling mix up and blender, but you're hiding your face because you don't want anybody to know who you are, because probably what you're saying, you're afraid they'll go find you and kill you. You will no longer be able to earn a living unless you have your digital ID and you are using the Jamdex, the central bank digital currency. That is what Andrew Michael Holness has set up for us here in Jamaica. So the informal economy, the Ankiat man and the farmer, and the person who walk around on Sunday daytime and sell them bungla kalalo to people for Sunday breakfast. How are you going to do that? Now you're probably thinking, but there is cash. And I'm going to burst that bubble for you. Because if you notice, there has been a series of frauds. SSL, how much $1 billion, and everybody thinks Gene and Pantan robbed Usain Bolt. Gene and Pantan didn't do that shit. Gene and Pantan is a patsy. Not saying she not thief some of the people, and where them said the 39 people where she write up, so she thief. But I believe that one either Usain Bolt money never thief or a thief and they give back under Sykes, but they pushing out the story in the public space because who is being held accountable? Gina didn't take Usain's money. Who is being held accountable? Look at all the CEOs, Zachary Ardin and the rest of them. Where is the investigation? Where is the inquiry? Where is the transparency where that is concerned? They gave us that one as a distraction, and two, for us to say, oh my God, I can't trust the financial system. And cash is the problem. Then they pay these criminals to go and rob beryllium. The last robbery that I saw, the gunmen went and they shot and they carried on, and the guards threw away the gun that they had and threw away the bag of money that they were carrying and ran. And the gunmen did not take the money. How the hell you go to rob the truck with the money? And the people who were guarding the truck ran away and left the money. And you had no opposition and you walked away and left the money. But you went to rob the truck in the first place. How does that make sense? It doesn't. So it's not about robbery, but it's creating a narrative. It is creating this psychological operation so that the people of Jamaica become distrustful of cash and of the financial institutions. And it will now give these banks the leverage or the excuse that they need to say, boy, you know, they keep robbing these whatever, we're going to close down the ATMs. And then there's another thing in the back. The Minister of Finance said, oh, they're coming in with some new currency, new bills, not currency, new bills. So they I don't know, the word escapes me. They redesigned the Jamaican banknotes. And they have these fancy, pretty notes that look like the ones out of Canada, right? And it begs the question. So if we are accelerating towards a digital economy and you're bringing in a central bank digital currency, why the hell are you spending billions of dollars to redesign the currency? Make it make sense. It does not make any sense, because at the end of the day, they are going to do to us what they did in Nigeria, because they know majority of Jamaica, in terms of where the economy is concerned, is cash intensive. We all deal in cash, because if a man sell cane on the roadside, that cash you pay me, don't have a NCB machine there swiping anything. He doesn't. And he shouldn't want to either, because NCB will take 6% of everything that he makes. Plus, he has to pay tax to the government on top of that. Because in order to get the NCB machine, you have to register your business. And if you register your business, you have to pay tax. So not only are you now paying tax for the little cane where you sell on the market, on the roadside, you will have to give NCB 6% of the gross. NCB is not saying take out the tax that you owe to the government and then we'll take over 6% of your profit. No, they're taking 6% of the gross. That is how thief them be. So I want you all to understand that if you think that this does not impact you, it does. Because very soon, the thing that you used to survive is going to be taken away from you. If you look under the Road Traffic Act, what did the government say? One of the rules were, if you are transporting your goods from point A to the market, you need a bill. So if the police stops you, that bill is itemized and tells everything that is in that vehicle that is transporting the yam and the banana or whatever to the market. That was one of the laws that they passed. Why do you think that is? Because at the end of the day, what they're planning to do is that those people who are selling in the market will now need a permit or a license to sell in the market. And obviously, they're going to ramp up now on the illegal vending, so you can't sell on the roadside anymore, because then go cart you off to jail or fine you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if the little money that you're making on the roadside is not going to be worth it, because when police come for you and say, okay, we're going to charge you $200,000 for illegal vending, you don't have it to pay. And they're going to confiscate your goods and destroy it, like we have seen them doing. And they are conditioning the police and the soldiers to terrorize and have no sympathy or empathy for the Jamaican people. So that when them activate them to come out and murder us wholesale, they would have already been so conditioned to not see us as their brethren, as their brothers and sisters, but as enemy combatants. That is why the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Michael Holness, continues to declare states of fucking emergency, even though there's no evidence that they are working, and creating zones of special operations, unleashing the police and the soldiers of the Jamaican people, so that the police and the soldiers are brainwashed into seeing themselves as different from us, so that when the time comes and they activate the Jamaican military and give them these killer drones to come and murder people like myself, who don't run off my mouth and attack the government and try to fuck up everybody, they will feel no remorse. And then they're going to get rid of them. Can make no mistake, the devil comes to seek, kill, and destroy. And all the pawns, the police force, the gunmen, the mercenaries from abroad that they have in the country pretending to be Jamaicans or refugees or whatever the hell they want, or developers or whatever the hell they want, because you have mercenaries in the country killing Jamaicans and saying it's gunmen doing it. And using the organized crime as an impetus, as an excuse for saying that Jamaicans should not have the right to bear arms. Because if we have arms, then can't unleash so, because no matter how soldier and police train and bad, you're no better than bullet. But when you come with your gun, and we don't have nothing but knife, sticks, and stones, what are we going to do against police and soldier when we don't go have knife, stick, and stone, and them have bullets and drones? What are we going to do? Nothing. We won't be able to do anything. So, for all the people who think that, boy, I don't want them to take my platform, or they are reluctant to speak, your hour of reckoning is upon you. Because you're going to have to link your Patreon therapy to your bank account, and your bank account where you have with NCB or Scotia or JN or JMMB or whichever one of them, where I feel link to your digital ID, the NIDS ID. And once them do that, they are going to now be able to track and trace, because you're going to have to link Politics Watch to your bank account. You're going to have to link Politics Watch to your ID, because YouTube, remember, YouTube is the devil's agenda, owned by Google, which is owned by Alphabet Inc., which is owned by BlackRock and fucking Vanguard. And these are the people trying to kill everybody. And they are part of the digital ID and the digital tyranny that they're trying to rain down on the world. And this is not just digital tyranny, it's a lot more, but we're not going to get into that because then we're going to get off track. I am saying this because I want you guys to start speaking up and alerting the people. Because if you are not speaking up and alerting the people are going to be distracted by what you are peddling to them, not recognizing that while you're partying and having fun, because you are supposed to be the lifeguard now, we're in the water as the Jamaican people, watching your foolishness and enjoying ourselves and carrying on, and you're the lifeguard perched up there and you see the shark come and you're not fucking say nothing. They come up with this social house fuckery. Everything they have, don't you see that they have been implementing all the things that they are doing to tear down the United States of America? They are bringing it into Jamaica. Don't you see that? They're using these little hungry belly influencers who frighten, and to some extent you can't really to blame them, because at the end of the day survival come first. But it's like, brother, going into the lion's mouth to say, boy, I survive, you survive, is a death sentence. So this social hub with Quiet Perry and Rushcam and the whole of them, is to bring in the same kind of destruction that they have in the United States of America. And this fuckery with the University of the West Indies, both people can use gender pronouns or whatever the case might be. There is an agenda, right, where LGBTQ, and it's not even LGBTQ anymore, because if you notice now, trans, because they recognize that, well, you know, somebody is a lesbian, that now start them from breed, because you have a lot of people who are homosexuals and they still want a child. So if it's a man, him still go and him breed a woman and him get 2 pitney or 3 or 1 or whatever. If it's a woman, she's like, well, I want a child. She's gonna go. So yes, she's gonna be a lesbian, but she's gonna go and get her child. But if you're a trans and you cut off your cock or cut out your vagina and put penis there, whatever the case might be, you can't have no goddamn pitney, and you're taking the hormones. Whether if you're a man, you're taking the estrogen. If you're a woman, you're taking the testosterone. You can't reproduce. So yes, if you have 2 men going together, them can still decide, say, well, I want a pitney, and go and get it and come back to their same-sex relationship. Likewise, 2 women, but with this trans thing now, that is, so it's not just, okay, I am trans. They are pushing you, cutting off your genitals and changing your biology. So if you remember, if a man does the gender reassignment surgery, he cannot get pregnant. And if a woman does and he can't impregnate anybody. And if a woman does the gender reassignment surgery, she likewise can't get pregnant, and she can't impregnate nobody. And their plan would have taken effect. So in the next 10, 15 years, and you have all these confused people saying, oh, because they're not going to have any kids. They're not going to have any kids. And so when them dead, that's the end of it. And the eugenics program would have been in full effect. And on the one hand, no, so you have it's still segregation, because, okay, they're coming up with this transgender agenda that ties on to LGBTQ. So LGBTQ feels compelled to support trans. Then you have the church, well, I don't want to say church, but straight community that is now, while they were perhaps like, you know, the LGBTQ thing, me not too depend that, but I don't business with people. The trans thing now, them take a step back and I say, but hold on, now I go on, so we never sign up for this, you know. While we were kind of be like, you know what, we not too penny them people, like them over the sun we over here, so. And we good as long as them stay over for them part, and we over for we part, we good. You realize, you say, hold on, you know, bring this thing, but it's not LGBTQ, it's trans. You know, bring in this fuckery now in the school, and I try to indoctrinate the kids them, so them just bungle up evidence. I don't care with the LGBTQ, I don't give a fuck the whole of it. What? And so you have straight versus gay. And while we are distracted, fighting amongst each other, they are out there taking away our rights, taking away our freedoms, and killing us. Because make no mistake, they don't give a shit about gay, trans, straight, this, they don't care. Their agenda is to kill and to subjugate. That's what their agenda is. So they will always create something for us to fight about. So if you're here and you're saying, boy, you know, fire upon the LGBTQ, ray, you are playing into their hands. You have to rise above the segregation. No, remember, I know, not talking about endorsing anything, condoning anything, or whatever. But you have to stay on message. So when they come with the trans, it's a distraction. When they come with the LGBTQ, it's a distraction. When they come with the climate change, it's a distraction. When they come with the pandemic, it's a distraction. When they come with the crime and the violence, it is a distraction. So if you stop every time them come with a distraction, if you address the distraction, they are winning because they're getting ahead of you. And that is what I think a lot of people who are
in this space like myself who are talking do not understand. And then there's a kind of ignorance that takes, because when you hear Twins of Twins talk and you listen to Queen Eye Freak and you listen to some of the others, there is still this, you're still focused on the trivialities of stuff that at the end of the day are designed to keep us apart. Because they're killing you. Them never roll out vaccine pan just straight people. They roll out pan gay, straight, bi, Christian, non, the Indian. They roll out pan all Jamaicans. So at the end of the day, we're all Jamaicans. It's just like when black and white are fighting. It's like, well, we are human beings. Because if a extraterrestrial entity come from outer space, all of a sudden black and white are going to disappear and we are going to see one another as human being. Because it don't fucking matter. So when they roll out the thing, when they lock down, who they lock down the whole away. So if me I'm gonna fight with this man over there so because him look shaky, and you're gonna fight with that one round there so because X, Y, or Z, who are you supposed to be fighting? The 63 bomber hole them in a parliament where are trying to murder the whole away. Because they are the agents of destruction. We collect the money, they collect their millions for kill we. Because they feel that, okay, they are going to be exempt from the genocide that is going to rain down on Jamaica. And they don't know that when them don't carry out the plans of the devil go and kill them Clark too. That's what they don't understand. And we have the sellouts. And there is no excuse. The whole of we hungry, the whole of we are fighting, the whole of we are struggle. There's no excuse for you to sell out. The artists, the whole of them where they push the nasty lyrics and the fuckery and they coming out and defending it. Look at what is the same thing. They're bringing the American nastiness into Jamaica to demoralize and dumb down the Jamaican people. And they're telling us this is what we want. No, this is not what we want. This is what is being foisted on us. And we feel like we are forced to accept it. But we don't. So the dung in your throat lyrics, the whoring and I don't even know what to call it. These kinds of music that we see playing out. All of us, the Mali songs and the this and the that. They have led these little boys astray because after them they grind them off too. Let's just be real. Forget the boss. And they're using that as blackmail against them to push their agenda, which is homosexuality, crime and violence, drugs, immorality, and dunceness. Isn't that what they're all pushing? Look at all these people who claim to say them are artists in Jamaica and listen to their songs. Shensi are gone right over to the devil. Literally, you know, if you ask Jesus and him 12 disciples, because you look at her music videos of late and you see the demonic element, the same demonic elements that are in the Beyoncés and the Rihannas and I don't know what happened there. That is what is in their songs and the content. Music is what put Jamaica on the map. Our musicians are the ones who inspired the revolution across the world, the Bob Marleys and so on. Jamaicans have this fighting spirit. I don't know what to call it. That people in the Caribbean right now are looking to us. We've been on Barbados radio show. We've been talking to Bajans, and they're looking to us for guidance, for leadership. And we are falling asleep at the wheel because we have these hungry belly influencers distracting people with fuckery. And fine, if your thing is mix up and blender, you can do mix up and blender. But when you see when Andrew come out with him central bank digital currency and him needs and in passing these laws to take away the rights and freedom of Jamaica, because that is why Andrew created the Ministry of Constitutional Affairs and give it to Marlene Malahou Fort, so that Marlene Malahou Fort can advise him how to circumvent the Jamaican Constitution and take away our rights and our freedoms. And they have restructured. So people are talking about, I don't have a problem with them giving the judges more money because they deserve it and what have you. Have you seen anyone in the judiciary standing up for the rights and the freedom of the Jamaican people? Have you seen any of these people from the DPP to justice sites, however, because he must say I get too much $30 million? No. When the government passed these laws that circumvent the Constitution, have you seen any of them come and say, no, 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 no? Weren't they the ones enforcing when you go before a judge, pay $700,000 for not wearing a mask? You know, see what I'm putting on the paper, the judge, they're chiding people for not wearing a mask. Chiding people for being caught out when they should not have been out there according to the Disaster Risk Management Act. Not understanding that there should be no circumstance, no situation under which a government can pass a fucking law to take away your fundamental rights. You can't. There's a pandemic and there's a deadly virus, so they were good food. You want to wear a mask, fine. You want social distance, fine. You want to stay in your yard, fine. But if I want to go about my business, you gotta allow me to go about my business because I have a right to do so. But what did they do? They all fell in lockstep. We have Jamaican for Justice. What is Jamaican for Justice doing for Jamaicans? Jamaicans are one of the most oppressed people in the Caribbean as far as the political system and the judicial system is concerned. And we have all these organizations, these watchdog groups. What have they done? How have they significantly impacted or halted the rollout of tyranny in Jamaica against the Jamaican people through their activism? How? They are all fucking there telling you to contribute to them, collecting your money and laughing at you because they're all bedfellows of the tyrannical regime that was set up by the United States of America to kill the whole of we over here and destabilize the economy. And not the US. What is going on? Oh my.